All right, here we are with Exalted versus World of Darkness, City of the Bull God. I guess the outro episode. It is September 2022, and we're just gonna do names, guys. I'm Devin.
Brendan.
Peter.
Holden.
Sam.
That's it. That's all of us.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. We did it.
All right. Yeah. Right. This isn't a Brendan.
All right. See you next campaign, everybody.
All right.
Eat
This has
shit.
been sponsored by nobody.
Right. Eat shit, listeners and players.
We're not really doing this.
Right. Okay. So let's do the intro here. All right, listeners. So we just wrapped up a game of Exalted versus World of Darkness using some preliminary rules and stuff Holden put together for his new revision of Exalted versus WoD. This is in September of 2022. I think we started this game in the early fall, late summer of 2021, and we just wrapped up 2 seasons. The game took place in London. I think the chronological time the game took place was a year. Like, we got a year tops, maybe 10 months. Right?
I mean, technically, it's more like it's probably closer to like a year and 6 months because there was that time dilation. Yeah,
we did time travel a bunch,
No,
but
that doesn't count.
So,
if you don't have to file taxes for it, it doesn't count as time passing.
There you go. So yeah, we had 2 Infernals, a Solar, and Sam played a Lunar that later became a Gatimian because Holden made rules for them and we wanted to play test them. And we did. And they're being iterated on. And by the time you get to this episode, because I think this episode's going to come out in 2023, maybe April, May-ish. I don't know, listeners. You'll know when it comes out. Holden guesses the Black Vault will be completely done and released. So you'll know a lot more about this stuff than we do, actually, by the time this comes out.
Or you won't, and you'll still be waiting.
it'll be
subscribe to my Patreon because I talk about it there.
Yeah, there you go. Right. So I guess we should start with characters. So who wants to? We're going to do the characters, and we're going to talk about the actual game that took place, and then we're going to talk about the mechanics of Exalted versus WoD. So that's the order of operations, listener. If this was a YouTube video, we maybe would have chapter links, but it's a podcast you're listening to on your drive to work. So there you go. Who wants to talk about their character first? There's no
Sam does.
Yeah,
okay.
Sam. All right, Sam, on the spot for Sam.
All right. Well, Rowan was a character that I made because I have no idea how World of Darkness works at all, and I wanted to experience it pretty fresh. So I'm going to admit there wasn't a lot of thought that went into Rowan. It was just, I want to explore this world. I want to have a character that would be chewed up and spit out by World of Darkness, but instead he's the one that chews him up and spits him out, just because he's an Exalt. So, a sweet, innocent boy who is just weird. I started as a Lunar because I like Lunars, but considering that I've never played World of Darkness, the No Moon Lunars especially require a lot of, I would say, knowledge of the actual artifacts and whatnot of the World of Darkness itself. You deal a lot with totems and whatnot, and I didn't know anything about that. Plus, I built my character just weird. So I was going to, at the season transition, switch and rebuild the character just from a mechanics standpoint. But then the Gatimians, which are probably my favorite Exalt of all time, were released, and I thought it was a perfect opportunity to just play one for real this time. I've played them in like mock-up sessions or something like that before, so I was excited to play it. I would say that I was pretty happy with Rowan. I do wish I had put a little bit more thought into his trajectory and his personality and things before the hand, but he did the job I put him out for, and he was a good anchor character, I think. I didn't... one regret I do have is that I really should have thought out the Gatimian backstory. He's not a great Gatimian character. For examples, like he doesn't deal a whole lot with the other world that he came from, and I really should have thought that before.
We had to we had to basically backport him into it at the end of season 1. So
yeah, I was
Wasn't
much
more
you
than
could have done
happy
about
with it, but a lot of the mechanics and a lot of everything work with the assumption that you have a very strong alternate world that you're from the
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
they absolutely do, especially with the essence renewal working as like making other people believe about your world.
yeah,
So like it not having a strong foundation for what the differences are between Gatimian Rowan's Earth and the World of Darkness Earth is like there weren't a whole lot of opportunities for you to actually get essence back.
right. And it wasn't a big problem because we had a huge dragon's nest that we could just pop into whenever we needed. But if you were doing it the way I did, it probably would have been a large problem. I feel that's completely on me, though. I was using Gatimian's off-brand, so I'm not upset with the rules or anything like that. But it is something that, if I were to play another Gatimian, I would focus much more heavily on, and also make a proper trajectory. Because if you've gotten to this point, you've heard that I kind of wander around, feeling out a character for him for quite a while until I actually land on one.
I mean, I found that getting to run scenes for you, it was a lot of you had like the basics of it, and then you and me kind of like spitballed and like yes ended at each other a lot, but it never got to such a point that like we were just like making ridiculous assumptions back and forth. Like it didn't get to like now it's time to go to space level of like yes ending, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, the backstory I had was that this Rowan, the Gatimian Rowan, was from a version where England basically conquered the world even more than it has in our version. So, like, the Americas are uh, maybe a separate nation at this point, but it's very recent. And I was going to rib End of Sadness more on that, being like, oh, you're part of the British, you're an American, sort of thing like that. But honestly, there was a lot more interesting stuff going on, and I was happy with what was going on, but I didn't want to bring it up too much. I'm much more of a fill in the blank backstory type of person anyway, so I was happy, but I do regret not pushing it a little bit harder. So that's pretty much my summary of Rowan from a character standpoint.
That's fair. That's fair. Did you have any, I guess, standout moments from the game that you really enjoyed, or any?
Put me on the spot like that. Are we talking characters? I thought we were going to move to story after we'd all done characters. Or
Oh well, I mean, I meant for like, I mean, I guess we could do it there. I was just kind of like trying to give like a good natural segue, but yeah, if we want to switch over to someone else, give you some time to think on that.
okay, yeah, let's keep to characters for the moment.
I guess any things that you really wanted to play with Rowan that you didn't get a chance to, either as Lunar Rowan or Gatimian Rowan?
No, I was quite happy. Again, I was quite happy. The only thing is, I wish I'd gotten him more solidified faster and pushed him to be a bit more aggressive. He was very much a go with the flow type of character, and that's not exactly an Exalt.
Yeah, Rowan spent a lot of the game basically emoting bewildered and slightly
Yeah.
fed up.
Nani?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt like one of my only regrets for the game is we didn't get to spotlight Rowan more than we did. Well, this may be my bias. I was absent for a lot of the Rowan spotlight stuff or reasons, but yeah, I would have liked to see Rowan get more time as a focal point of the game, and I feel like he suffered a bit from having to cohabit with stronger personalities.
It's I am not to pull back the curtain, I was dealing with a lot of stuff during the game. I had to move, for example. So I honestly was just happy to just chill out for a recording session sometimes. So that was partly on purpose from my part, just to relax a bit from life.
That's fair, and it was fun when you just Rowan
Yeah.
would kind of disappear into the cut for a while, and then just suddenly bust out like, oh, and by the way, especially once he was a Gdemian,
Yes.
just bust out, oh, and by the way, I can completely turn the scene upside down and tie it in a knot because I have this crazy, stupid power you've all
I love
forgotten about.
Love
Oh,
the
yeah.
powers.
There's
yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of
like
that.
yeah, like being able to just switch where that Stonehenge is. Like I had an entire like combat ready to go. There was like maps and everything drawn, and then it's like, no, I'm gonna just sneak in there and like slap a little thing on there, and boom, you gotta. Now you're on our turf.
Yes.
The Gdemian version of neighborhood relocation scheme. Fucking fun.
I resonate so much more with Gatimian charms, and I see that and I'm like, oh, I love where this is going. I can just do whatever. My biggest regret is I didn't get to use the Scooby-Doo charm, where it breaks reality.
Oh yeah, the maze.
So fun. Yeah. So from a mechanics standpoint, I know what to do with Gatimian charms much better than lunar charms.
Oh yeah, there was a learning curve for sure as we were like iterating on that stuff.
Yeah.
And to Holden's point, I think that I think that Holden was actually absent for a couple of the big Rowan centered episodes, like the first time that you guys went to 20 Fenchurch Street.
Oh yeah.
I actually just finished editing that like on my end like a couple days ago, and I completely forgot that you had done a different voice for Rowan in deer in like man deer form.
Yeah, I dropped that pretty quickly. That was
I enjoyed the hell out of it because you were like, "Oh yeah, I'm Rowan. I'm just doing my normal voice," and then like you're like, "Okay, yeah." I go into the man deer form, and you're like, "Hello," like you're clearly just like it's you.
I
just
may need to go back and watch and listen to these episodes now. I was not imagining the man deer talking like Mr. Bean. That's
I didn't mean to do a Mr. Bean impression there, but okay.
It's me, man deer.
fucked up.
Mr. Bean the Lunar.
Oh God.
Oh god.
Okay, who wants to go next?
I'm going to nominate Rigel.
Nominate me, okay.
Ooh, we're doing popcorn method. Okay.
Okay.
It's either that or sit here for 20 seconds in complete silence.
It will be kind of on brand for us.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Sounds like Pete just cut out for a little bit.
It did.
Yeah. He just started talking about his character. And
Oh,
some
no.
caster's like, no, we're not having
Did
any
we
of
lose
that.
him?
I think we lost him.
We can't do anything then because he controls the episode.
Oh, we can't even... Oh, he's here. He can hear us talking, but we can't hear him.
Someone in Discord oh, wait, is he saying that he can hear us talking? Peter,
Yeah.
stop! You got to stop the episode, Pete.
And we're back. The mic disconnected or something.
Oh boy.
Okay, Rigel. So yeah, it was kind of interesting playing him, all the Twilight shenanigans. It was kind of amusing, breaking the crafting system so much that the Holden had to patch it up with a new chapter in the Black Vault. That's an accomplishment.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh boy.
It's so bad. Oh, wow.
It was so broken that we had to go back and be like, well, we're going to let it break this once, and then we're going to fix it.
This is your reward for being a good playtester.
Well, yeah, turns out mages are broken if you don't put any limits on what they can make.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Fucking god.
why would you put limits on what the mages can make? Because they're going to just accrue paradox and stop them from doing. Oh wait, you're not a mage doing. Oh, okay.
I mean, I generated what? One paradox maybe tops?
One. You generated fucking one because Mage 20 is a really fucking tightly tuned game.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out, if you make mincemeat of vampires, well, reality doesn't care.
We'll talk about that at systems later.
So yeah, other than that, I guess I just played him a bit straight. Didn't have really that much, stuff defined for him. I don't know. Here's working museum and teaching at Oxford. We didn't get to. I was considering doing like some of that color curriculum thing where you can teach people with a lot of doubt. But then in the end, okay, this won't affect the story. Just like the infernal wish granting charms. That like, oh, it's nice stuff in the background, but if we don't focus on those characters or those people, it doesn't really matter all that much.
Yeah, it feels like if we do a third season, it would be like super Rigel centric because he's finally set up for to be the anchor for like the next arc, which I assume would be we go out and fuck up the Ascension War arc. But we sort of ended there rather than actually getting to play that.
Yeah.
That's
Which-
probably the best place to end it, though.
Yeah, because then that would also mean a season of like mage mechanic centric stuff, and that would be well, actually, that's all on the GM. So
Yeah, it's all on me. I mean, I'm
Yeah, I don't care either way. Not my problem.
right.
and the GM doesn't have to really give a shit about the dots. You can fudge them. You can fudge mage stats like real easy. None of the players are going to check your math like, oh, show your work on what spheres does that? We don't care. We don't fucking care. No,
You guys just want it to be fun.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It's like they do whatever the fuck they. I mean the dice pool is always Arete, so whatever the fuck he's doing is it's like that sounds about like a difficulty 9. Sure, why not? Yeah. But yeah, Rigel. I think Rigel was absolutely invaluable to this game because, dear God, this group needed a straight man.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose. Again, Layla turned out to be the straight man in this arrangement, it seems.
He
Kinda,
literally had resources 5, which meant he was a super billionaire and was Prince of Wizard Mars. Like,
he did a lot to ground the group in the world of darkness.
Yeah.
Like
He
it
really
was a
did.
touchstone.
That's fair.
Yeah, a
Mhm.
place to kind of start from interacting with the supernatural world, which is what this. I mean, we'll get into that with the story, but it's what this campaign really kind of ended up being about as compared to a lot of other Exalted versus WoD campaigns that people do.
mm-hmm.
Well, you say that he's being grounding people, but then he has Ant's End of Sadness, and then we play with some time shenanigans just to see whether it works.
Well, I mean, that was the other cool thing. Is he was very much an enabler for a lot of the crazy shit that went on. So it's not like he was just pulling the other crazier characters, by which I mean End of Sadness, down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
Having like a respectable face for the party was very useful.
Yes.
Both in terms of utility and in terms of just moving the story along and having the group feel like this diverse group of exalts.
Yeah.
Plus,
I guess
I
it
like
played us
Rigel.
to some group of NPCs that turn out to be pretty interesting, which are the local mages.
The mage
Because
NPC.
without that, who'll be interacting with really? Vampires?
Whoever
werewolves,
End of
maybe?
Sadness gets into a shit fight with this week.
I really do appreciate that. For your background, you had the mentors, which were your parents, which were mages who were like already established. I like Holden was saying, I think that having them come on super early to the game and start talking to people about like what the World of Darkness was about kind of really helped with giving you guys some perspective without you guys having to necessarily do all the groundwork yourselves, which is what I find that a lot of Exalted versus World of Darkness, like first couple of sessions is learning about the supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that seems to be like the thing that, like at least in the first game, people are like, "Oh, what are we? What's going on? Let's figure out our origin story." Like, we don't care. We've done that already in the other game.
Yeah.
No, I built a character who did not give a fuck about that shit.
Yes, you
Exactly.
did.
I did not give a fuck where the power came from or what it was or what it meant or what we were. I knew what I was. And I knew what you guys were.
I also appreciate that since that you guys were so deep into the mage world, it actually let me throw some mage lore at Devin, who clearly has not, who's I don't think ever really looked too deep into mage stuff. So like when I started throwing like mage stuff at you, like I wasn't sure if I was getting just the end of sadness reaction or also the Devin reaction from it.
I have never read a mage book. I don't care. I do not care about mage. I tried, but look. I read Vampire the Masquerade, and I've read like maybe half a werewolf book. Maybe I've read all of Wraith and a big chunk of Orpheus. I don't give a fuck about mage. It's boring as shit. Okay, like yeah, you can talk about all this cool fucking stuff that you could do as a mage, and it's all this is going on, and you're gonna have to fight this war against the agents and stuff, and it's the technocracy, and none of that's gonna happen. None of that shit's gonna happen. It's all a lie. Every single part of the fucking mage game and book is a lie. You're not gonna do cool shit. You're not gonna do awesome shit. It's not gonna be like jumping off a subway, dual wielding Uzis while you're using like Doctor Strange stuff to shift gravity and go into the mirror dimension. None of that shit's gonna happen. You're going to roll some dice, a bunch of ones are going to come up, and you're going to botch, and it's going to suck. And the entire scene's going to deflate immediately.
And then you're going to explode.
Yeah. Or you can play Mage 20 and never fucking play because no one plays Mage 20. Anyone who says they play Mage 20 is a liar. And has no honor and will go to Grethor when they die. Fucking look at Mage 20. God fucking damn it. I'm not even going to describe what's wrong with it. What's wrong with it.
Please don't look at Mage 20. Just pick up Mage 2nd. You'll be much happier.
Yeah, but I've read through Mage 2nd or Revised, First Edition, whatever editions came out. I had a bunch of fucking Mage books that I had access to read. The one with the tarot cards in the cover. Look.
That's all 4 of them.
Mage is a cool fucking idea, but I can't do it. And like the technocracy doesn't make any goddamn sense with how magic works. How come they're not constantly botching with paradox rules? Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, they don't run the mechanics because the mechanics aren't the in-game universe. Yeah, but 100% of the players have to use the mechanics. So that just means the players botch way more than the rest of the organizations. And botching makes you not be able to use magic. And you shouldn't be using your magic because using your magic gives you hubris, or it makes your quintessence go down, or Wrinkles shows up and like fucks your mom in front of you. Like it's just a game about.
Then you have to thank him.
I'm sorry, but I've read I haven't read a Mage book front to back, but I've read a lot of Mage game reports, and I've looked at how the World of Darkness. And I've looked at how the World of Darkness mechanics work, and I've read people who've written Mage talk about the technocracy are
learning
good
about
guys.
Learning about Mage from the Mage online community is like learning about Exalted from the Exalted online community. You would come away with the impression that it's a game about F-14 turning upside down to the dinosaurs flying them could piss heroin on you in a flyby. No, the Mage community is hopefully not listening to this podcast because I don't have anything. Put it this way, I blitzed White Wolf management at the time to get a writing gig on Werewolf 20th, and I had the opportunity to do it again on Mage 20th, and I remained dead fucking silent. I sent no emails. I hobnobbed with nobody. I didn't try to get on that project because, speaking as the former Exalted developer who spent fucking 17 years in the trenches of the Exalted forum on the White Wolf and the Non-Expand websites, the Mage player base, the Mage fandom scares the shit out of me. I don't want to deal with that level of crazy.
You know how fucking crazy the Mage players one? There's this one notorious Mage player on one of the Discords or whatever.
Only one.
Well, this one is I don't know. He's I could throw a lot of words at you, like white supremacist and like weird pedophile and stuff, but you don't have to. I don't have. It's a mage player. You know, I've already kind of encapsulated it, right?
Oh, no.
So like,
It does have that game does have a really, really bad like libertarian type
yeah, like I read Mage 20 because I thought Mage 20 would be like the addition to read, and like the
No.
writer for Mage 20 invokes children being raped by their fathers a bunch of times in the opening fiction. So like I'm like, oh, okay, this is for Mage fans. Yikes! I'll put that away.
Ooh.
But
Ooh,
this
I
one,
have not read that.
it's horrific. But I in this Discord over the one mage fan that was fucking off their goddamn rocker. This was like a Chronicles of Darkness Discord. Was so mad that one of the Geese developers for second edition removed the machine powers, that they're like, machines can make you scary. They can make you be feared of death. I'm gonna find guy's name and I'm gonna put him in a machine press and we'll see what he's afraid of. And like, of course, the mods didn't ban him because making those kind of comments about developers for the game is normal, as are slurs and stuff in the Onyx Path White Wolf community. But like, that's how quickly he went 0 to 100. Is someone wanted to take away a mechanic he liked in an edition of a game no one played. No one fucking played Geese first edition. Fuck you. But like, because it was taken away, he went nuts. This is the guy. Yeah.
This tangent, I did not think that it was going to go this way. I was just commenting on like, man, I remember that one. I remember that one that one episode that I ran that was just Pete and Devin, and it was just you guys hanging out at the club with mages, and I really enjoyed it.
I know. I brought that up with End of Sadness. End of Sadness brought it up where it's like, oh my god, mages are fun to hang out with. I thought you guys would be huge buzzkills. I thought this would be really bad. I thought this would suck like shit. Oh wow, you guys are fun. Because like, I expect mages to be fun. I expect them to all be what every mage character I've ever seen growing up watching people play mage be, which is just a big fucking nightmare. A big, boring fucking nightmare.
I was still amused when, you realize that technology is just magic bullshit anyway, and it's just the same rules with different splats, and you just lost your shit.
I just lost complete interest, right?
This is just a ray gun instead of a wand.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, pretty much.
Really? They're just wizards cosplaying as Silicon Valley influencers?
Yeah.
Uh,
It's so much less cool.
Whatever the
yes,
sound...
instead of invoking the sacred names of Michael Archangel, they're just invoking the New York Stock Exchange. Yes.
Right? Like, if there's an onomatopoeia or sound effect for an erect penis deflating, it was that sound effect once I learned that. Because it's like the
someone letting the air out of a balloon.
Yeah. Ooh. But like, it was like, oh, the technocracy, like, they're these cool men in black, they have technology, neuralizers, iteration X, there's a spaceship, UFOs, clones, inside job, everything from every conspiracy theory ever, hypno rays. And it's like, oh, it's just magic. It's like, what? Yeah, like, like their chemtrails, that's just charm person. I'm like, oh? It's like, yeah, like the cool smart gun that shoots around corners, that's just do damage with a spell. I'm like, oh. The Terminators? Yeah, Terminator's just a stone golem. Shut your fucking hole. I'm like, oh. I don't know what to tell you, okay? Mage sucks.
Sadness.
Sons of Ether.
Sons of Ether? Fuck. Sons of Ether, the only thing I know about them. The only thing I know about them is, much like Malkavians, they weren't in Chronicles of Darkness, and everyone lost their fucking mind trying to backport them in, even though they're boring as shit. Ooh, steampunk! Jesus H. fucking Christ.
I love steampunk.
Steampunk sucks for this and only this reason. This is the only reason it sucks, okay? Everything else about it is fun. Steampunk sucks because inevitably the type of people who like the Sons of Ether without actually looking into why they like the Sons of Ether or why they like anything that has a steampunk aesthetic without actually being related to where steampunk came from is completely missing the forest for the trees. The reason steampunk stories are about like nobles and pirates and people in fashionable clothes or like Greece and have like goggles and tools on them and they're taking airships is because steampunk's based off Victoria era London, where the air was so fucking deadly. People would take trips to the countryside as a doctor's recommendation to clear their head because the countryside can heal your heart. What it really was, they just weren't breathing in asbestos and the charred fucking bones of orphans being thrown to the furnace after they died in the mines. Okay? That's why steampunk has airships and like flying shit in it and rockets and stuff. It's so people can get away. It's so the rich and the wealthy and the lucky poor privateers and pirates can float above the smog of the industrial hell of London and escape to a bright blue sky for once in their miserable lives. And no one acknowledges that with steampunk.
I don't agree with you, actually. That's
Cyberpunk is about the evils of capitalism. Steampunk is about the evils of about English people.
I believe the correct conclusion of that sentence was industrialization, but yes.
No, just the British. Beans and toast.
It's the British. Yeah, it's the British.
Beans and toast, other things about British people hate that I can't think of.
How did that old Tumblr post go? My history professor, what parasite was responsible for the potato famine? The tired voice in my brain, don't say the English. It's correct, but don't say the English.
Right. But that's why like people who just who just blindly talk about the Sons of Ether or steampunk as like a thing without like connecting it to the thing. It's very much modern cyberpunk for me. Like that's what makes it suck for me. Where it's like modern cyberpunk is all about that. The modern mainstream cyberpunk has nothing to do with capitalism and exploitation is a disease that's destroying our humanity and our society and ruining us. Instead, the new edition of Shadowrun's like all Shadowrunners who exist on the periphery and don't have IDs secretly hope to be Mr. Johnson one day. They really want to throat that boot and be the boot that gets throated. That's cyberpunk, baby. For me, that is where steampunk landed, basically, in the popular consensus. It just makes me irritated. Just irritated.
That's not how I took steampunk at all. I respect your opinion.
Fair enough.
I don't. Anyway.
So speaking of British people.
Yeah, well, hey, it's topical.
But speaking of Rigel.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Is there any other stuff you wanted to talk about Rigel?
We didn't get to talk about Rigel.
Was there anything you wanted to talk about Rigel?
Well, DevOps Butterflies is a killer in the right hands.
Okay.
Oh my god, right?
Oh my god, once you started using Death of Obsidian Butterflies, the game was over.
Here I was thinking like Blackshot for the guys would make go-to.
No.
But yeah, once you become a Twilight and then you start, adding on to it, and you have 20 dice at the low difficulty and so on. Like, well, I'm rolling difficulty 3. I wonder how many successes will I get. Is it 15 again?
It is.
Is it aggravated to creatures of darkness? Have fun.
I liked that your character was a solution to problems, but that's just because of the like outside of the broken crafting system thing where you could just literally do anything. But it's like whatever issues that would come up, you had solutions to them that were like interesting to move things along or would streamline shit that we didn't want to deal with. And your parents being mentors was just excellent. That was a good pick. You should do that more. That's a good one.
I mean, that's what I'm planning for Heaven for Everyone.
Yeah. We'll tie that all in, but like having kind of like a cluster like that of like resources and then role playing stuff to bounce off of. It's solid work. I kind of wish the stars got a little more screen time.
Yeah.
We gave them a little bit more in the one episode that you missed, Evan.
Oh no, for sure. I know y'all went to Wizard Epcot on Mars.
Yes.
See, the problem with mages is that they're so far removed from the ground eventually that it's kind of hard to put them in.
Right.
Oh. But yeah.
Especially with archmages, where the World of Darkness goes, hey, you shouldn't be on the real world anymore, bud.
Right. Get good, scrub. Go to the new server.
Yeah, it was interesting delving into the whole Ascension War and figure out how much would it take to just make infinite amount of mages. And turns out that Solar Charm, you can be more like, if you're built for it, you can, the only limit is your essence renewal, which in Dragon's Nest, that means like 4 or 5 of them an hour. So you just keep churning them up, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, it's kind of, I was hoping to showcase my fascination to make mages, but that didn't come up. That was so late and everything.
Yeah, I mean, we have a solid setup if we ever come back and do a season 3 or something in the future where we could just like do a season 3 for fun. But if we did do a season 3, I would love it to be in Exalted in an Exalted versus WoD demake.
Yeah.
I just feel
Just take even more stress off of me. I would appreciate that.
oh yeah, right. But like the solar parts of it were fun. Like, how did you like playing a solar? You're basically a Swiss Army knife for every roll. Like, you had 80, 100 dice for any roll at any time, and you're a solar, so you had an infinite moat pool for it.
Yeah, I mean that's one charm where I can substitute anything for using my go-to strats, and that lets me just plug in any hole I wanted, and see that and everything else I had wasn't really all that essence intensive. I wasn't like the main combat person or anything like that. That meant
Until
I
that last
could
fight.
do anything. Oh yeah, then I'll just turret.
Yeah. I would have liked for more mage stuff to come up connected to you specifically, connected to you like winning the Ascension War, or you having like rivals in the technocracy and stuff. But like it just didn't get to come up. So I think those would have been good for your character because everyone thought you were a baby mage, but you weren't a baby mage, you were something else.
If we do a season 3, I think that my focus would be on technocracy, the Ascension War, and getting out of London and dealing with the other exalts that have popped up throughout the world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Time to go to France.
we've definitely gone loud enough to attract non-local attention by this point.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
I know we also didn't deal a lot with your relationship to the university and the museum.
Yeah, we got
Yeah,
to go
I
to the
mean-
museum like twice, right?
Yeah, we went to museum like twice, fighting the Setites and stopping them from stealing stuff and so on. So it wasn't all that interesting. Yeah, we didn't do anything with being the Oxford teacher. Also wanted to do something with like the him calling dead languages with a linguistic charm. That was small thing. I was ready to do that avatar form in the last fight if in case Rigel dropped dead, but that didn't go to anything. And yeah, a lot of small stuff that got missed, but oh well. Don't have time for everything.
Yeah, you taking that charm that let you get back up was actually one of the reasons that I really went hard on the abyssal stats. I like really tried to push him to be like, "Oh, I'm going to fuck someone up."
That's a good idea.
Unfortunately, I kind of screwed that by knowing how to play this game.
Oh no, that was fantastic. I loved being able to just be like, "Well, I can't do anything with him, but also Layla can't do anything else." So like, I will take that as a win if they both deadlock each other.
Yeah, it was kind of weird with the whole Dawn characters deadlocking one another in that final fight.
It happens. That is a very old. That the site is old as Exalted First Edition. Just two mutually indestructible motherfuckers rocking up on one another and fighting for hours. That whole thing, in the epics, and then they exchange sword blows from dawn till dusk till dawn again. Yeah, dawns do that.
Oh God.
Five-fold bulwark stance.
I've seen fights like that in Second Edition Exalted when I was playing with sewer people, and yeah, fight would take like an entire day, and it was just nothing. Just nothing happened. Nothing.
Yeah, that's the worst.
And it's probably not exactly Exalted Second Edition's fault, but like for me, it was even more deflated because.
Oh no, Second Edition was fucking terrible.
Oh, it was, but this is an outlier because like no matter what mattered in the fight, it didn't matter. Like the fights didn't matter because if the GM, I was running with sewer people, remember? Mm-hmm. So if the GM wanted the players to win the fight, then he would then even if like he killed it because he'd have like a special novel plot he'd want, right? So if he wanted the players to live for his special novel, because he wrote them into the special novel, then the stats didn't matter. They'd eventually live, or the bad guys would die, or he'd just say they died if at a certain roll. And if he wanted us to lose, we just lose eventually. So you got to do like an 8, maybe 12-hour Exalted second edition tick combat, and it didn't matter. It was predetermined before you even got there. So I just see that kind of gameplay where it's like, oh yeah, it's a tactical and you're trading blows back and forth. I'm like, oh god, no! I only have so much time on this planet.
Yeah. Whereas the guy that I made for that, he was just a by the book built up Exalt. Like I gave him the exact amount of XP that you guys had, so it was just me throwing it another character at you, which was like I think was an interesting way to do for like a playtest to actually see how that they go.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he was going to beat Layla if they just kept going, because he was ahead of her on modes. And she did not. He was going to get through her soak before she managed to get through his 5-hole bulwark stance plus the soak behind it.
Mm-hmm. Anyway,
my go-to after that was going to be if I'd had to tackle him, my idea was to go to grappling and hope he couldn't, and hope he had dick for brawl, so he couldn't actually. Then I'd only need to get one to actually land one hit, because I don't think he could break out of the grapple at that point.
I think that he had pretty decent brawl, if I recall. I can just pull up the character sheet and let you know. But
okay, then yeah, she was in trouble.
that is neither here nor there. Okay. It was okay. Wouldn't say he had dick for it, but he definitely wasn't maxed out.
Neither was mine. Let me fucking pull up Layla's sheet. What did as horribly killy as she was? You know what? I'll do that later. We're on.
Yeah, right. So anything else before we switch over to the next person?
I think that's everything that I had for my character, I suppose.
Okay. I guess Holden, you pick who gets to go next. Or not Holden, I'm sorry. Jesus.
I guess Holden can go next, because he got something on later.
Okay, so I looked it up. Yeah, she had Dex 3 Brawl 3, that is what carried me through the entire campaign. All of that bullshit.
Yeah, he had Dex 5 Brawl 3, so that would have been it would have been down to the dice, I think, at that point.
No, yeah, he would have. Well, Shentai form gives me a little bit more Dex, but he's probably going to just take control of that grapple, and things will get nasty from there. Okay. So part of the reason we did this game is I was bitching and moaning about wanting to play an Infernal, having wanted to do so for quite a while, while I was working on revised Exalted versus Rules. And my initial plans were to lean very heavily into the Demon Emperor to be angled. And that sort of got shot to hell when Devin showed up. As I'm like carefully pulling characters together, he just walked in and was like, here's my character, and like, oh, that's exactly the one I was going to play. Cool.
I bought every cult power.
Yeah. Yeah, Layla has a vestigial cult 1 on the character sheet that never actually appeared, and basically wasn't there. No, I eventually took it off and replaced it with something. Fame 1. I don't know. So instead, I just leaned into. I wrote that little ficklet to get her started, and just kind of leaned into that. She ended up being the Worm's Eye View street level character. coming at that from a very different angle than Rowan, because she's a much angrier character than Rowan. Rowan is sort of like, okay, this is weird and I don't like it. Layla was like, I hate this is weird and I hate it and I'm gonna kill it. So yeah, so somehow our guitar witch ended up being like a wrecking ball also. That just happened because infernals. And because I was picking out of the Lanka charm tree. But I went into wanting like the mind domination break motherfuckers' will powers, and I ended up using that like all of 1 or 2 times in the whole campaign. It just did not come up enough. Anybody who was like enough of a shithead that I'd want to unleash Crowned with Fury on them, they were enough of a shithead that I just wanted to kill them instead. So
Well, I'm glad that I could make really hateable NPCs.
definitely.
Yeah, no, those powers are devastating. Like the mind domination stuff. Like Nicole was
Yeah.
using the abyssal version in another game, and they were just super.
Did you use Crowned with Fury all of
once. Andrew Parker. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me, by the way?
I don't think I used it again.
Good, good. I got an alert about a connection thing.
Yeah, they'll put it offline, so maybe let's stop. And we're back.
Yeah. But yeah, Layla's stuff is like, I don't know, like the character of Layla starts with that PDF you did. We were talking about it back in the intro, where it was like that whole story about her stuff. That's basically the prelude to this game. The game opens with the Layla stuff telling you how a normal person became an Exalt and why they're so fucking like amped up, and then it just leads you to, okay, and these are the types of people becoming magic led her to, basically.
Yep.
And these people were fucking freaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's harsh notes.
That's a little harsh for Rigel and Rowan.
The most downbeat one has antlers, you know.
Yeah, first of all, Rowan has antlers and is an architect student, and Rigel is a Martian wizard prince.
Wait a minute, why did you make it sound like both of those things were like equally in front to nature?
You do remember I also described him as looking as a slightly like Avery from Pokemon.
Oh yeah, yeah, you did.
Avery from Pokemon. Avery from Pokemon.
Oh man, are we doing this bit again?
Oh my god!
Holy shit! I was picturing very much the wrong thing this whole campaign.
You had to remind us of that like every time, dog. You can't just say that once.
It was
a year ago.
I was not clowning you on your fashion sense nearly enough. Holy shit!
What are those sports shorts and ruffle and fucking
tie-dye
ankle high socks that also have a skirt around the cuff?
Yes.
Ruffles.
And I believe they made it by. I don't know if that's.
Well, now
isn't Rainbow Dash a protected species?
Right?
Oh no!
Rainbow Factory.
He's wearing 2 different colored gloves of 2 different styles.
Yes.
Like, the purple glove is clearly the glove he uses to throw Pokeballs because it's a workout glove. It has a black sole and a purple backhand. So it's clearly one of those gloves for, like, rock climbing or whatever, so he doesn't, like, hurt his skin throwing Pokeballs constantly.
With a detached cup.
Yeah. Well, now I understand why the party didn't really make fun of End of Sadness's poncho and sweatpants.
Right.
Now I know why you were all so subdued about that.
Dude, magician, what do you expect?
Yes.
Y'all motherfuckers managed to make Layla look like she was dressed normally, okay?
She is the straight person of the group.
She is.
Most down to earth.
Yeah,
I just an enabler.
Yeah, Layla was the ground character, Holden. Like, you're like, oh, I don't know how the Guitar Witch became the most relatable character. It's like you literally wrote a classic White Wolf intro fiction about a relatable mortal character becoming Exalted to guide players who want to play Exalted about how they should make it Exalted versus what. Like, you built an intro character.
A very good one.
Yeah, like that's not like a sly or anything. It's just like, hey, look, if you want to play a human being that's an Exalt in a world that makes sense and was written by someone who isn't quoting Tron or Transformers, this is how you do it. There's nothing about Layla that's a bit.
I'm also apologize to anybody from the UK who listened to this podcast, because I am fully aware that was a Scots accent, and I have no idea why it happened. It just happened.
No, it was perfect, and like, oh god, I was waiting for an opportunity to drop the line where like Layla would say something to End of Sadness and walk away, and End of Sadness would go like, or I was waiting for Layla to have a moment at some point where she had like her greatest triumph ever, and it was sort of like the denouement. And like we were talking about how well she did, and then decided to go like, yeah, she really did so well for herself despite that speech impediment. A kind of music. Like the accent wasn't bad. You didn't do a bad Irish accent. It was just making fun of Irish accents is fun. Making fun of British accents is fun. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I don't think I ever got to do a Cockney accent. I'm a little disappointed in myself now that I'm thinking back on it.
Oh, my British friends are going to have a kick about this when they hear it.
Right?
So basically, after rescoping the character around End of Sadness, let's just be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that happened.
After rescoping around that, I really don't have any regrets. I feel like I got to do everything I kind of wanted to do with the character.
I kind of wish your bandmates and like your dead friend came up more. Like I wish we got like we had a chance to do like a session or two where they showed up for like a little more screen time, like a little more stuff.
Yeah, but that's always tough in these games to get the like, especially like the modern like Onyx Path stuff. It assumes you're going to spend a lot of time focusing on like your wife or your brother or your best friend from work, and I've always found it like really hard to work those NPCs into actual play sessions, you know?
We had a pretty good run of doing that in Heaven for Everyone because everyone was a teenager, so all the major adults in their lives like were constantly in their lives like interacting with them or their siblings and shit. It's kind of I don't know if it's something that we were really good at, but I think that like, you know, you're teenagers in the 80s, so like your scope is much more limited, even though you're
teenagers live in a fishbowl socially.
Exactly.
You know?
So it's a lot easier to have these reoccurring characters and connections and strings to pull.
Whereas, dear God, we were barely able to go to Rigel's workplace at all, and I mean,
yeah, right.
Like, we did it after hours and fought vampires there.
We did it another time too. We had to go on in to look at a computer or something, or steal some tapes, or fight someone. I don't know.
I think I managed to be absent I think that every was single time y'all went there.
Yeah. Yeah, remember that wizard that I stepped on? He was there. He was working as the IT guy for that museum.
Mm-hmm.
Teddy.
Teddy.
Is Teddy the one that we one-shotted at?
Yes.
Yes. No. Yeah. End of Sadness got Teddy, right?
Yeah, I did.
Mm-hmm.
You basically cut him in half with an AK.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. Dodge this.
Alton.
He was like a tech wizard. Dodge this. He's an agent.
Now he's red chunky ragu.
Right? Fuck.
In the middle of Stonehenge, located at 20 Fenchurch Street.
We really fucked that city up.
Oh, like, I'll put it back.
There were so many like good moving parts to Layla. Like she had ties to Andrew Parker and the vampires. There were hooks for like her friend being dead and like getting all that together. That's such a good like arc to go through. It took 2 seasons to do that, didn't it? Like we did season 1, yes. We did a bit of prep work, and then season 2 we actually did it. Like we had enough self-control to make it wait.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good move. That was an excellent fucking move.
Yeah, because she was so closed-mouthed and did not emotionally open up to the others for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm. No, on every level, Layla like drove a lot of the really good role playing, a lot of the good back and forths. You know, asking questions, like challenging the things we were doing, and like bringing it down to the human level. Because Rigel and End of Sadness would never say no; they would always go 100%.
They would go as far as possible.
Yeah,
we commit.
Yeah, I mean, they're both characters kind of fly above the setting. Rigel because he's, you know, British upper crust and basically has no needs or desires that are not immediately fulfilled, essentially. And End of Sadness because they're batshit crazy and all of their needs and desires are unreasonable and things that they're working furiously on at all times.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I was thinking. And like I was trying to compose that comparison in my head. That's basically exactly what I was thinking too.
And Rowan, of course, was like a clueless weirdo.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Now that
That's
we know
accurate.
now that we reminded that what Rowan was wearing all the time, like he was ready for the fucking Wizard Olympics. Yeah, Rowan's a fucking weirdo.
Yeah. He's always a weirdo.
Those mages didn't throw him into the void by accident. He fucking had like a desk in the architecture firm full of like Funko Pops that he hand painted.
yeah, so stop it. Where Layla was also had no fucking idea what was going on, but that's her entire life has been all right. Well, we'll play this we'll play the situation by ear.
Yeah, like it was.
I had a good time with it.
All four of the characters were so fucking distinct in what they contributed to the group dynamic. Like no one overlapped with anyone. Like all of them did something that no one else could do for the narrative.
It's
And
really refreshing.
even for actions too. Like everyone had their thing and it stuck out. Yeah, you're right. It was refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was that's a really good strength of Layla because the things that she had to do were difficult things. Like those are difficult parts that like being the grounded like Layla is a character from a White Wolf book, like a classic White Wolf book. Like that is something you would just get out of like, hey, how do you build a vampire? How do you build a werewolf? What do they look like? How do you expect them to play? How do you expect them to talk and think and react? How do you expect them to feel emotions and use their powers and like make decisions? Well, Layla Church is a great example of what if you're trying to play Exalted versus what is like an actual real game from White Wolf, that is how you do it. You do it like Layla did.
It's pretty much what I wanted out of this chronicle. I feel like I got it.
Layla never turned her face away from the supernatural conflict or plot stuff and tried to just like work as a waiter somewhere and not engage. And Layla also never tried to build a rocket ship to go shoot God out of an asteroid. Like she stuck directly to being a person. Which that's difficult.
She was a person with like a goal, and you let it even at the point where that you technically got your goal done, because I think that you technically get Parker like
early
before season 1 even ends.
Oh yeah, it's an early grab, and you just drag that out as long as possible, which is good.
Yeah, we
could
have. I think before we started, there were suggestions of like doing him for episode 1. And I was like, no, I don't want.
No. That'd be a mistake. Huge mistake. No, he needed to last as long as possible without you like instantly like clowning him. Like again, dragging it out with Andrew Parker is something you'd see in like a novel or a work of fiction. Like that was paying attention to showing you what this stuff looked like. A bad writer would kill Andrew Parker off in the first episode.
Yeah,
I'm not saying anyone here sucks. I'm saying this was a book. Like whoever would write that
or
would be a bad writer.
Or just putting him front and center because I have seen Exalted versus World of Darkness in action before. Yeah. I am fully aware that as soon as you put the villain in the room with the player characters, that is usually the end of them.
It's happened every time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we ever had a true rematch that wasn't like a little bit finagled or finicky. Like, what was it? We killed Negaroan.
Yeah, but Negaroan pieced out into the Umbra.
Yeah.
And we were too busy to follow.
Yeah, like
Negaroan pieced out into the Umbra, and if you guys had done one more level of damage, he would have been gone, and he wouldn't have shown up in the finale.
Yeah, so like that, I don't count that as like a oh, they lived again for a rematch and hounded us. It was like, hey, we didn't kill this guy, so we could have another dude in the fight that we know their name, so we could kill them even more elaborately. Like that's what that was.
And again, the one that got away was another Exalt. So
yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So like I know I'm cycling myself here on the Layla stuff, but like on every level, how Layla was put together was one of the harder ways to play a character in Exalted versus WoD, because like there's a bunch of shit you had to engage with, and also like you built a character that was a music person, you actually knew music stuff, that was like a little bit beyond surface level. So like,
I don't know jack diddly shit about music. That was all like furious Googling 5 minutes before the game.
yeah,
in
well that
every
means
case.
yeah, but that means you did research. That means you put like that that's the point.
Okay, good to know. Furious Googling 5 minutes before something counts as research.
You know, like it gave Layla, like, I didn't question for a second that Layla didn't know shit about music because you didn't know shit about music. Like, it came off that Layla was like someone who existed in this career without it being like an info dump or anything. Like, End of Sadness info dumped all the time for
Thank
to
God, because I
compensate
was.
for that.
Thank God, because I had imposter syndrome the entire time, every time her career came up.
R.I.P. to the rest of people who role play, but I'm different and better, perhaps better than the gods.
Oh,
No, you were keeping up with me. Anytime that like music stuff came up, it was like, okay, cool. Layla's in like a metal band, so
Holden,
let's just throw some info here and see where this could go.
it was to the point that I just thought that you were a music kid. Like, I just thought that you were like a record album kid, go to
Oh
a concert
fuck
kid.
no!
Yeah, I just assumed that about you through Layla because Layla just had enough surface interaction and like research done that she just pulled it off that well. I'm like, oh yeah, Holden's probably a music kid. That's why he knows this stuff.
Right. I didn't question that.
Yeah,
I honestly assumed the same.
No, just basic writer research.
yeah, exactly.
Which actually paid off like really well for the game once with that stupid fucking club with the indoor pool. That's a real place
Yeah,
Oh,
there you go.
that's
Right.
so-
that I
Oh.
turned up as I was googling like some of like what are some of the 5 shittiest clubs in London. You know, I was trying to do her intro story, and I ran across that. I was like, okay, that is weird enough. I gotta keep that in my back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Place is closed permanently now, thank God.
Evil never dies.
But it was a real place and was really open during season 1.
Mm-hmm.
I still can't believe it.
And also, yeah, like you did London research and stuff. I didn't know London research. I didn't do any of that shit. Are you crazy? But like you had London knowledge, so like it just Layla seemed like a complete character. Like just right out the gate at conception done.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I guess then we only have
And
one more person to talk
and
about, unless of
spent-
course
yeah,
Holden's
and
got something else.
No, and spent a very great deal of the game bouncing off of and of Sadness, the other Infernal.
Yes.
yeah. It was interesting seeing like 2 Infernos in a game with totally different builds.
Holy
Yeah.
shit!
No,
Right?
Yeah, and I felt like End of Sadness, if she was just the grounded World of Darkness example character, the End of Sadness, that they were the just push it to the hilt.
Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jack Kirby.
What-
That shit.
But without feeling, there's a thing that people will do. I've been in these games where they just sort of, particularly for a setting they don't know much about, or it's like, okay, we're gonna play game. Game has a very defined setting, and without even looking at a single page of a single book or even like browsing a wiki summation, they just come up with a character, and it's like it best like a quarter way fits in. You have to kind of crowbar it into the setting, but it's like, okay, well, I know about vampires, so so I've got this character, and like he wants to find the vampire that bit him so he can kill him and become human again. Well, that's not really how Vampire the Masquerade works or what we do, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
End of Sadness is like at the opposite end of that spectrum. They are the go loud, go hard character that feels fully congruent with Exalted versus World of Darkness.
I
Absolutely.
really appreciate that.
Like the exact the exact other end of the spectrum from Layla, but I would still equally point to them and go, "This is what you can do with this game."
Yeah, that's good because that was a lot of the intent. Like I get. Should I start talking about it instead? Should I start taking over now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I segue done.
the intent with End of Sadness was I looked at like and this wasn't like a foreseen intent. This was something that was going on as I was building the character. Was in Exalted, there are always these big fuck you huge charms that say that they can fundamentally change the setting, and no one ever really gets to them, so no one ever gets to play test them, so no one ever gets to see how actually satisfying they are to get and use in a game frequently. And this was something I sort of grabbed onto as I was designing End of Sadness. Like I wanted a lot of those 4 and 5 dot charms that were supposed to be a big fucking deal, and see if they actually were a big fucking deal. And most of them were, actually. And we did some workshopping as we went along to kind of correct things I felt were like a little out of balance or a little out of harmony with the intent of like enjoying to buy this stuff. But that significantly alters the tone of any character if all you're picking up are those abilities. Like, End of Sadness was a difficult character, not to run in the game. In the game, it was easy. It was very natural because, like, I had a lot of like the structure of who they were built out in my mind, and I was just like running the character off of that. Even if it didn't get into the actual game, the responses and reactions came from a place of like structure. End of Sadness wasn't a random character. They didn't have like I didn't just make stuff up for them. I had stuff for them, and as it came up, it just sort of naturally like that's how they would react. It was just finger snap, right? The difficult parts though were like they got so out of hand with how much screen time they got, and it really frustrates me. Like it's something that I think I've brought up multiple times whenever we've talked about this, and like it's kind of my final word on it at the end of the game is if I could do this game over, I probably wouldn't have done End of Sadness. I probably would have done something a little different. But it's good that I did because hey, I very rarely get to do a character this big, loud, and wide. Like End of Sadness was built tall and wide. If you think of like a 5X game, where like they had a very, very strong focus on what they were supposed to be doing and what their motivation was, and they had a ridiculously wide reach to accomplish those goals even before the other players came into it, which is a little frustrating because it started it started making like interaction like End of Sadness could basically go off and play their own version of the game in the background, and I hate that. It's not a good thing for a character to be able to do. It's not healthy for any narrative. Like it's basically the Exalted crafter issue, where a crafter can fuck off and do crafting stuff while the rest of the party actually plays the game, or the hacker issue. Like I stumbled into that with End of Sadness basically on my own.
I don't know. I don't agree. I don't agree because End of Sadness is their thing. Amassing this big cult. They are, forgive me, but very much from the Elon Musk school of like move fast and break stuff. You know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
So in pursuit of their goals, they're going to make huge waves and aggro everybody in the setting who might be put out by someone completely upending capitalism in London, you know, which is pretty much every supernatural with a stake in London.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So that's very different from just I sit in my workshop and I beat on a piece of metal for 20 sessions.
Well,
so some problems that I had to like not do so they didn't come up in the game. Like I made sure not to like use my ability to make machines alive to take over satellites, because if you know anything about technology, the second you grab a satellite, things start snowballing very fast. And I knew if I did that, it would completely warp the game. So I didn't do that, even though End of Sadness would have done that if this wasn't a game where we were all sharing and playing pretend with each other, and this was a narrative about a demigod that should not have become a demigod. Like,
yeah, if you had done something like that, it would have snowballed very rapidly, and I think that the technocracy probably would have taken a much more center stage as the antagonist.
Or just the social stuff I was doing, where I was giving people whatever they wanted, you know, whether it was making them a femorai or wishing them back together or stuff. You know, I was using big, wide social reach to change the fabric of society, but it didn't come up as much as it needed to, because then it would just fucking dominate everything and like absolutely ruin the tone for the other three players. It's something you have to always be watching when you're playing characters like this, because it's a game. It's people playing pretend together. You can't just fucking break shit and wreck shit for the other players. You have to have a handle on how you're contributing and how you're raising other people up. The first thing you should be thinking of when you're playing a game, I'm talking not to you guys, I'm talking to listeners right now, by the way, if you're wondering where this is coming from. This is to the listeners.
No, I got that.
When your first priority when you're playing any game isn't how you can make your character better. It's how you can raise other people's characters up and like highlight their plot lines. This serves a dual purpose. One, it's just fucking polite, and it's a good thing to do with your friends. Two, it means for sure that your character will be involved in the story, involved in the scenes, and involved what's going on without it being all about them. There were many times in this game, if you go back in retrospect to look at it, where someone else was doing something. I tried to do my damnedest to make sure End of Sadness cared about it and wanted to contribute in some way without really trying to completely fucking bulldoze it and just be like, oh, I could solve that instantly. Like, there were times that did happen, but that's inevitable. Like, Peter has that same thing going on because the characters have very weird like spectrums that Holden was talking about. Like, if the two Infernals were on one spectrum, then like End of Sadness and Rigel were on a spectrum opposite of Layla and Rowan for just like resource access and problem solving access and how they could like make things go away. Like that was, if you can analyze these four characters, that two characters pair up against two other characters in basically every configuration for a bunch of really fun things. Like Rowan and Rigel, as far as I understand, they're real people that lived like a middle class plus life, right? Like at the very least, Rowan had like a fine life in London before he like became an
Yeah,
exalt.
I would say upper middle class.
Well, as far as I can tell, Layla and End of Sadness both came from shit. Like they were both fucking destitute, poor before they exalted,
Hmm.
and like that's interesting. But then when they exalted, well, now End of Sadness and Rigel are the ones that have all the resources. Like it just kept spinning like that, or how combat characters were done, or power access.
Yeah,
Or
End of Sadness and Rigel, as powerful as they were, their biggest asset, both of them, was their backgrounds.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Where Layla and Rowan essentially had no flex in that department, and if they needed to solve a problem, they showed up in person to crush it with charms. Because that's
exactly.
all they fucking love.
Mm-hmm. So when I was going through the character, like I was stressed about how their backstory would come up. It didn't really come up fully in game. I think we alluded to it enough that it just makes sense by the time you get through two seasons. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how I'd pitch it. It's like there was someone who grew up in a commune in the Appalachian Trail, and they eventually became in charge of that commune, and it eventually they got killed off by Pentex. That's the story. Like something bad happened, and from that, End of Sadness exalted and escaped and came to London. Like, it's a very simple, basic plot, and like the character that End of Sadness was when they were mortal. They sound outlandish when you put it down or try to describe it, but then you look at like actual history and actual like even American history with like how individualistic some people get and like the wild fucking things people do, like the nuclear Boy Scout and stuff. And it's like, no, this is actually pretty reasonable. It's reasonable in a world of darkness. This could have happened and gotten as far as it did before something stepped in to put them down. That
Yep.
makes sense to me. I just think it's my own kind of like, I was just nervous about it because it sounded super corny to go with, but after two seasons, I feel like it landed, and it landed just as well as it needed to.
End of Sadness was essentially the main character of this campaign.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
know that's a compliment to some, but to me, it just hurts on the inside to hear that because I hate that so much. I try so hard not to do that.
It always lands somewhere in
I
just
know.
about every game.
Well-
True like equal ensembles are rarer than him, Steve.
For sure. And I'm loud. I'm really loud and I talk a lot. And like with the cameras, like if we were in person, I would be cutting you guys off so much less. I promise you. It's way easier for me to pace myself when I'm actually seeing people in real life to not just do that. But this fucking audio thing, this internet thing is rough for that.
I mean, it was inevitable for a lot of reasons. Rowan is designed to be kind of quiet by nature, and then Sam was going through stuff and
Yeah.
laid back in some sessions as a result.
Mhm.
So it was. Layla is also designed to be a very reactive character. She
Mhm.
doesn't want a whole lot, especially once she's taken out got Andrew Parker under her thumb. Thinks she's basically got pretty much everything she's after. So she's very much a counterpuncher.
Mhm.
So it's
Exactly.
good. It's good that we had a character that would like very firmly fixed goals and very aggressively pursuing them, and just very much walks out in the forefront of every situation.
For sure.
Because this group needed that.
Yeah, no, that is essential for a lot of games too. What I always have told people when I go about making characters is I do two things. I have a goal, an objective, something the character wants, and I make sure they have a plan for how they're going to get it. It doesn't have to be a good plan. It doesn't have to be a plan that'll work. The goal doesn't have to be attainable. The goal doesn't have to make sense, but it has to exist. And the character has to have thought about it. The character has to have a concept of why they are here. And that pushes a lot of story and a lot of narratives and a lot of character interaction forward because it gives your character stakes and internal logic.
Isn't it a little bit like Exalted 2-ism where you had to have some sort of like grand goal you were aspiring to?
You're talking about motivation, and that sucked shit. But yeah, that is a little bit of that. This just came from a different area because I never really engaged with second edition on that level before this came up. This just came up from just like iterating, running games over years, basically, where it's like,
Fair.
if you have a goal, an objective, here's an anecdote. Here's an anecdote that has nothing to do with me, actually. The sewer people I used to game with once upon a time ran a Ravenloft game, and it wasn't even the one where Atris came from. This is a different Ravenloft game, right?
Boy.
And we all sat down, we all had characters, and the idea is we were gonna dick around in like Falkovnia or the Shadow Rift or something. We were gonna dick around in some area we did not give a fuck about in real life because the GM had a special fucking novel to write, right? And we all sit down, we explain our characters, we're going to start, we're talking with ourselves in character, and one guy drops, "Oh, I'm here because this was the last place my wife was spotted. She was kidnapped by vampires, and I have to rescue her before she's turned into a vampire." And there was a beat. Like everyone at the table, like 5 other human beings stopped and looked at him. And there was like silence for a moment before someone goes, "Well, that's what the fucking game's about." Like immediately, everything we were doing stopped. Every vague, half-baked, half-assed concept to follow along with the GM's kill goblin story just was gone. And it was like, oh shit, this guy needs to rescue his wife from vampires. There's his goal. And his plan was to follow the trail and go with it and find like other fucking killers for hire / adventurers to point in that direction. That's really solid, right? And look, instantly the game had a purpose. Instantly the game became more than the sum of its parts. Instantly the game became something compelling that you wanted to go week for week to go to. That game did not last more than 2 sessions because those people sucked.
Yeah, I knew the story ended in tears, but
yeah. Like I didn't care about any of that shit because whatever. But like that moment is like fucking flash frozen into my brain when it comes to tabletop games and making characters. And this is why I tell the listeners. This is why I say to you guys, a goal and a plan to get it. Make your character internally consistent with that. Have them care about that, and it will push everything forward. And
I don't think every character needs it.
Nope, not at all.
Every table benefits from having one character like that.
One is
if you have 5 characters like that, you have a fucking mess, which is one of Exalted Second Edition's problems. Fucking motivation.
One is essential. 2 would probably be perfect. Like you need to have a strong motivation for what's going on there. And End of Sadness as a character, as a package of mechanics needed that. Like it informed everything about how End of Sadness used their powers, about their limitations, about how they held themselves back, about why they pursued certain charms, and how they pursued certain charms, and how it was conceptualized to them. End of Sadness has an entirely different view on the world based on their extremely consistent backstory and what they are striving for. Like, they just believe all of you guys are the same as End of Sadness. They all believe you have a demon inside of you that talks to you that you're just ignoring, or you have sublimated / gaslit yourselves into thinking is your own thoughts. And there is literally nothing any of you ever did in the game. None of your characters ever once took any action or did anything or made any compelling argument to convince them otherwise one single iota. You're all infernals as far as End of Sadness understands it. You could all turn into a giant monster. And by the way, if fucking Peter had died and gone through his fucking Super Saiyan form, fuck all of you trying to tell him otherwise. You all had Super Saiyan forms. You all had pocket dimensions. You all had other worlds. Peter literally had Mars. Layla had her own hell. Rowan had the cataract. You all had other demons inside of you. Rowan had one of his demons pop out and run away. Layla could turn into the monster. Rigel had a Super Saiyan form. Like, all of the things that End of Sadness internalized as being themselves, you all had. and it completely validated their worldview because their worldview was that far off baseline. It wrapped around to making sense.
Right.
I tried to make a character that looked at the world of darkness and looked at becoming exalted, because I know a lot about Exalted and the tones and the themes and the ways you're supposed to feel about it. It's supposed to be like fire in your veins.
Mhm.
And I put that to a real person who had a pretty rough backstory and a pretty rough like end to their mortal life. And like I ran that off of like guilt and like, you know, wanting to do better, and them having like confidence issues, and them like casting away parts of themselves they just didn't want anymore and stuff. It was all these things that made sense when you looked at the character and what they were picking. And that stuff was like, these are the things I was thinking of with End of Sadness. I wasn't thinking of like, oh, what NPC should they go after, or like what supernatural should they fight, or what way should they establish a thing. Anytime I was thinking of what action End of Sadness would take, I looked inward to what their emotional state was, because they were basically ruled by their emotions at all time.
Mhm.
And the fucking thing I was planting early on, that they were just suffering from long-term sleep deprivation. I gave them a 1 dot flaw or 2 dot flaw called nightmares. I gave them nightmares. And nightmares is you have nightmares every night, and sometimes if you fail your willpower roll, you don't recover willpower, but you always have nightmares. So what does that look like? 2 years when you have stamina 5 and, you know, don't ever really wear out, but you never really get a good night's sleep ever for 500, 600 days straight. It looks like End of Sadness. They had all the symptoms of sleep psychosis, where they would get like these big crazy like delusions and paranoid thoughts, which was everywhere. I'm sure I don't have to give you examples. You can see
No.
them, right? Like
Yeah.
the breakdown with the Sedites having End of Sadness as symbol and ruining their image, like the whole fucking like actual emotional snap there, and like getting angry and aggressive, like all of this stuff was there in the sleep deprivation. But I didn't want it to be like a jokey punchline. I want it to be like, no, guys, this can happen to people.
Yeah, I mean, it also like it shows up as early as like 10 minutes into episode 1.
Yeah.
Because like it's like, hey, where are we? Well, you know, I stole this RV and yada yada, and it's like, oh, you did what, bud? And then it's like, hey,
Yeah.
they're like, as the first social interaction, my thing was like, hey, I'm going to give a wholesome old Scottish police officer who's like, hey, your tail lights out, bud. And your immediate reaction isn't, hey, we should pull over. Hey, let's have a cool car chase. It was, let's call in a bunch of bomb threats.
Yeah, call in a bomb threat and have his phone call to let him know a family member's in the hospital dying and he has to go now.
And like it's kind of amazing because everyone else's reaction to that moment is like, what? No, just pull over.
It's like, you guys want me to pull over for the cops? I don't have ID.
I mean, you know, fair enough. He is American, so
True.
But like, yeah, like all of that, I was constantly in the background trying to make sure it was consistent on some level. It had to be consistent, or else the character would come off as a joke or just a grab bag of powers, and that would suck. That wouldn't be fun to watch.
Speaking of powers, it's really funny. I'm trying. End of Sadness actually didn't get to use their signature stuff very much. It was mostly mind hand.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
my hand is so
bread and butter.
busted.
Holden. It's not busted. It's just having telekinesis is useful.
So the funny thing is, I actually would like to queue up and do an Infernal again as a reaction to gaming with End of Sadness, because something we talked about during the game was how much you'd invested in being the wish granting genie, and how little you had the opportunity to actually use that on camera instead of just as a justification for your background.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to me because I now have the urge to like make I'm trying to remember Verdant Emptiness Endowment, is that the charm's name?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I would really like to make a Verdant Emptiness Endowment character because it's such a character defining charm
Absolutely. Like
in the way you use it. Like Endless Sadness voluntarily cut themselves off from a lot of the power of that charm because they were insistent on using it ethically.
And I also my one counterpoint to that is me using it ethically was me banking cred because at the very end, well, not at the very end, but like Verdant Evidence Endowment lets you condemn someone to hell if they refuse your request, basically.
Yes.
And once you have your own hell, you can make that the target point. So I banked not just giving it away, just being very light and breezy with it, not trying to find a bunch of thousand ways to fuck people over with it. Just being like, no, I'm a free genie. I'm a free fucking genie, whatever. So that when it was time for us to all rapture ourselves and go to hell, I could pull off a fucking rapture by using Verdant Empty Endowments in a way I don't think anyone would have ever anticipated. No one would have thought to just give it away free to your cult. So whenever you want, you can just ripcord everyone off the face of the earth and literally rapture them.
It was pretty great.
Right? Like, I'm proud of that. I am proud that I thought of that and I put all those pieces together and it got to happen in a game. That is really cool. That is the cool part of taking those big charms. Like, that more than makes up for me not getting a lot of in-game screen time with it because it lubricated so much stuff in the background, in the offline, as it were. But right there on screen, that was perfect.
Yeah.
It's the sort of power that I love, where if you have it, you are, if you want to lean in, like you made the very deliberate choice not to, or to lean into it in a very different way.
Yeah,
but
I wanted to do something different.
But it means that you basically should be spending the entire game just scouting every situation you're in, every social interaction, just waiting and evaluating everything every NPC does as, did they just express a desire?
Right?
Because if so, mine.
Well,
you
unless they roll whatever.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I wanted to counter that with you introduced a quality of life fix that made that more viable than it was previously, by the way. See, you originally had Exalted versus EvWoD Essence expenditure working on you spend a certain amount in a scene and you go totemic. And that makes Verdant Emptiness Endowment fucking useless because it costs 5 motes a turn, goddammit. Or 5 motes a use. But now that you've changed it to you can spend this many a turn and always stay like off the grid, or you can spend this much a turn and go off the grid for the rest of the scene. Now a Verdant Emptiness Endowment Infernal can actually do that and not immediately reveal himself.
Yes. One thing that we play tested in this campaign was the new anima rules that are going into the Black Vault, and I would say they were a resounding success. Just superior in every
absolutely.
respect.
Yeah, I would just have the entire fucking revised book you have just fucking put out a new edition where that's the default because it's it's so much more useful and it makes the game better and it makes more characters more possible. Like fucking have the classic rules be in the vault. It's like, hey, if you want to hit your hand with a hammer, use these rules.
Buy your own essence ratings.
Look, you guys are playing World of Darkness, so that means you love shitty rules. So here's spending experience for your essence and having the old anima rules. If you want to be retro, and make the good rules the default. But I'm a monster. Oh fuck me! Is that an Amazon driver? Oh, I gotta text this guy. Surge.
It was interesting seeing like that End of Sadness had a lot of charm that he only used like in the background, like the Little Devil, the implants, and so on. Like, cool charm, but 4 dots to just have Bakemonos in the background. Like, okay.
Yeah, I see. Verdant Emptiness, or not that. I mean, Latter Day Devil implants. I have a lot of problems with it. Not on the cost. On one, you can't build your own Femorai. And I know that's so that people who play mage don't pick banality or whatever that like shuts down supernatural powers. But like, look, I'm making machine implants for people, so I give someone a robot arm, but they might randomly be vomiting acid because they get an acid thrower. Like, come on!
Yes. If the storyteller was a random input machine, but I mean,
well, I just want the all the Femorai powers just need to have a little more like a little more talking to the people, like just talk about the intent more. Just in a section in the Black Vault, be like, hey, look, there's a bunch of powers for Fomori. Here's how you should be doing it.
Yes. Here's
That's
why
all I
we
want.
Here's why we don't let you specifically custom tool them. But the intent is not that they're run through a fucking random number generator. You're not rolling a D100 on a table.
I gotta mute 1 second. I'll be right back. Just keep talking.
Yeah.
No, I refuse.
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
Dead air until Devin returns.
Stay silent.
What if we just,
Stuff like
talk
that.
shit about Devin?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know Devin that well to be able to talk shit about him. I just have this whole parasocial relationship here.
Whoa, what are we talking shit about me back? I'm back. What was that?
We're talking about how much Canada sucks.
It does. But what about abusing? Was it about abusing rules for making the guys?
Yeah, that's what you
yeah,
left on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you
So-
could. Yeah, you absolutely could.
Yeah, you absolutely could have. Like, we could have totally like dug down and like digged into the into like the Fomori creation rules and just completely turned like all of your dudes into like, fuck you, mages don't work around you. Screw the vampires. Who cares?
So even though the Fomori rules say you don't get to build your own Fomori, except for I think one of the charms kind of lets you does. With End of Sadness, I actually sat down. I was starting to build out templates for cultists that were Fomori based on the ways End of Sadness would give them their implants. And I got like 4 complete templates done before I went, this is fucking boring and stupid, and stopped. Because at the end of the day, writing up full NPC template stat blocks for cultists feels more like I'm building a roster of Final Fantasy Tactic characters than I am just building characters. I don't want there to be a build your own Fomori engine. That sucks. But it would be nice if in the Black Vault there was like a section for Fomori, or maybe even goons, but let's just say Fomori, where it's like, hey,
Yeah, I get you.
not even just the essay or like just talking to player, but being like, hey, here's a battle Fomori template with a few options you can pick, and they only get 1 or 2 of these. Here is a social Fomori. Here's a blah Fomori. Or just be like, here's a basic Fomori, and here's just a little template kit you add on for like a few little variations. Maybe use these guys. And if it's like a big fucking animal like a gorilla, because I'm not going to lie, listeners, if you ever have the ability to make vampires or monsters, just go to a zoo. They're full of monsters. They're full of tigers and lions and elephants and shit. If I went a different direction with this, I was just going to go to the zoo and just turn like elephants into bulldozer rocket launcher platforms and stuff. Fuck London.
If you have an Inferno or a Lunar in the game, your zoos will be empty.
Exactly, right? Or if you're a vampire player, or even if you're a lunar player, or any type of player that can make use. Animals are here for our amusement. Okay, that's the world. That's the world Exalted versus World of Darkness stance on it. They're a resource to tap.
Season 3, the Guru kill End of Sadness.
Right?
Oh yeah, time to learn how to do werewolf combat.
Right?
Exalted versus PETA.
So because all these high level charms, are so defining, you'll see that, hey, we just talked about Verdant Emptiness, we just talked about Latter Day Devil implants. They do actually matter. So the next one that matters is the fucking Hell charm. Building your own hell, key to the kingdom, and that was huge. It took a while. It took a lot of hoops to jump through. I think we've eased those up a bit as we've gone along, so it might be easier for you guys. But I have heard everyone talk to fucking death about being a devil tiger from Exalted. Oh, you get to be your own custom infernal and have your hell, and it'll never happen because it's 9 billion XP and no one ever does it organically. So I want to see, in an Exalted versus WoD game, if I could fucking get there as fast as possible and organically do it. And it took time, but we eventually got there. And then we got to play it, and it mattered. It didn't matter in the ways that, like if we did a season 3, that hell would be outputting content all day, every day for changing the story and changing the nature of the game. So even though it didn't happen in season 1 and 2, I know it would in 3, and that is good enough for me. I don't really care about doing a season 3 just to get my money's worth out of it. Conceptually, I got enough of it down to go, yeah, if I was a player who was just trying to do this on their own because they really were down for it, they could probably get there with the changes we've made in a reasonable amount of time and made a reasonable amount of changes. Obviously, I would prefer to have a little more explanation for what the various options do, like put a bit more text into that in the Black Vault for like each individual option. Be like, okay, this is the intent behind this. Okay, this is what this should be doing. Okay, this is what it means to be this when you're picking your hell selections. You got to do that. It just helps a bit more. But like the hell was huge for End of Sadness because it was like they wanted to escape. They wanted a place to go that they could bring people to like be away from this. They didn't want to change the world. I didn't want to play a character that wanted to conquer the planet or wanted to like rule everything. I wanted a character that could do the good they wanted to do and then fulfill their promise to their cultists, like their worshippers, and leave. The whole concept of worship with End of Sadness was they wanted to be like a classic, like they as a person, as a human being who makes decisions and knows like what they're doing and knows the follies of being like a tyrant and like being a bad ruler and stuff. Like they've read books, they've watched TV shows, they know what a Star Wars is. But as a fundamental concept, they want to be like an Old Testament God, where it's like, look, I'll have people that are my favorite people. They are the people that I will devote like my time and resources to, and in return they'll devote themselves to me, and I will uphold my end of the deal as long as they uphold their end of the deal. Okay, it's a sacrosanct compact. It is real beyond real. I will never break that fucking trust with them, and they can always count on me, even though I'm a big scary fucking monster that sometimes goes on tantrums and destroys parts of the world. Like that's Old Testament God worship, right?
Yeah.
That was an intentional choice of End of Sadness's part. They understood that they were a force of an instrument of destruction at various points. Like that's how the demon, like the coadjutator, pitched to them that they were here to destroy things, and they're like, yeah, sure, but not my people and not the things I care about. And like the hell was how that represented itself. End of Sadness got to have their cake and eat it too. They got to send their people to a promised land, to a safe place where they were happy and everyone was happy and there was no more conflict or problems and people got exactly what they wanted out of the afterlife. They got to fulfill the promise of a Catholic heaven in every way that it pitched it. And there was basically no downside to it, except that End of Sadness couldn't stay there because Holden wrote the charms that you can't always hide out in your base.
You're welcome.
Which no, that was good because it meant that End of Sadness had to keep escalating, and the escalation that I didn't even think about this. I didn't know how I was going to resolve this, and I decided that having a tantrum would have been uncool, and that being super depressive and sad would have also been uncool, and that End of Sadness is a proactive character, so I had to find a proactive way for them to make a best fit, and the best fit was there's a rider
Mother
in
of all manic episodes.
yeah, but that leads into the next charm. I took the charm that lets you create places of desolation all around you by spending essence, and I have infinite essence because of my Dragon's Nest, and Human Sacrifice suspends it. What's it called? Barren Wasteland Infliction. But
Yeah.
Barren Wasteland Infliction has a rider where if you have keys to the kingdom, it looks like you're hell if you do enough bloody sacrifices to it.
Yeah.
So here's why the heaven was perfect for End of Sadness. I without consulting the GM, I decided that when they're in the hell and they're inside, then they're the Viator. Like when they're in their Shinte form, they can sleep without their nightmares flaw. The hell has advanced technology, so it is advanced enough that it can eliminate that flaw entirely. When End of Sadness is in the hell of other people, in the hell of null space, they can just sleep. They can just rest. They don't get bothered by it. They can just fully unclench, and they don't get to stay there full time. So now they have to, so when I took it for Earth, it's like, yeah, make a hell on Earth. Build an area that's a big fortified defensible position where you can always be the Viator and always be like in the fetal position in his rib cage sleeping away while the Viator takes over. And the Viator's supposed to be an independent character. I honestly, like, as a person who made End of Sadness, the Viator is an independent intelligence. It's not completely divorced from End of Sadness, so, and it's not like a multiple personality. It's supposed to be like a charcoal etching from a wood carving of the most important parts I thought were of the Viator of Null Space as an Exalted character, which was he deeply, deeply, deeply fucking deeply cared about Autochthon, his father / himself. Like, that's a core thing about the Viator's entire writing. He cares a lot. He cares so much, he's willing to try and reboot Autochthon into being a predator of the other Titans. Like, it's his fucking driving goal. It's in every write-up I've ever seen of him. And the other thing would be him being absolutely like torn up about failing. Like, he failed Autochthon. He failed his father. He failed on every level, and those regrets and that mindset and that one nightmare End of Sadness has about the last city in Autochthon dying and everyone like suffocating was like traumatic, was like basically PTSD from the Golden Lands, from a pre-Babylonian era, rippling through into the present. That was the concept behind why the Viator was a different person from End of Sadness, while still being like, running on his brain. Like the Viator was you take that trauma and you run it through End of Sadness's mind, and you get a facsimile of what the Viator could have been like if they were using a human mind and a human perspective to exist. Which is, it's very out there as far as a concept goes, but it worked for me.
Yay!
Yeah,
Yay.
Viator was definitely a very interesting character.
Yeah, he's
Mhm.
supposed to be this thing that traveled along with the Return of the Exalted, and like that ties into past life memories and all that too. And I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
But Barren Wasteland Infliction meant that, yeah, I can just spread that all over the world. And the intent for season 3 would be that, End of Sadness would push the Dragon's Nest as far down as possible into the earth, so that the radius of the constant battle music that's always around the Viator because of the Shinte signature charm that can't be turned off, those can't be turned off. Could be out of range of disrupting London, so I could just be at the bottom of the earth or the bottom of London in Viator form in their hell complex, sleeping, existing. That's End of Sadness. That's what they want. That's all they want. A character
That's
that
his end game.
right? A character that was so aggressive about grabbing things and being out there and recruiting people and making themselves out in front and center and taking control and being a leader. And all they want to do is just curl up into a ball and go to a place where they're kind of always asleep, not really aware that they're awake. Like just dream. That was the pitch. That was the idea of the arc for the character. Like, how would you get to there from where I started? How would you get to a place of peace when none of the rules really allow your character to have peace, or to be like to find kind of like a perfect contentment or a perfect kind of like walled off safe zone? So it was a lot of using all these high level charms to make them interact the way I wanted them to interact. Right? The cult's loyal. The cult's super on the ball. They love End of Sadness and stuff, and like go to the hell and like want to be there. None of the powers or the way they use their power is like super destructive or disruptive to the cult members or to people who don't deserve it. It's a lot of using that charm set for big, swingy, world changing stuff to be subdued and like in control, which was interesting. It was fun. I wouldn't do it again.
Right.
And I think we've got one more player that we need to talk about.
Brandon.
The
Oh,
storyteller. The
yeah.
storyteller.
Yeah, I guess you're right there. I
Yeah.
guess that I do technically count as a player.
Yeah, you get to talk
Technically,
about all the
we allow
every
it.
other character in the world.
Yeah. And all the rest. I guess this also kind of ties in with story and everything, so we can kind of go about that. I guess at there were a couple standout NPCs that I really did enjoy playing with you all. Obviously, the stars get a very special mention. I think that they were the longest running recurring NPCs that we had. Because they just kind of kept showing up every now and again to do stuff. There were a few others that I kind of like. I don't remember exactly, but I think that we kind of forgot that Whispers of the Void not necessarily existed, but he kind of faded into the background.
Yeah, I would have cut him completely on review. Like I didn't need Whispers. Whispers was too much. I should have gotten rid of. I should have got rid of him.
Extraneous.
Yep.
I really enjoyed playing the on the ground Cabal of Mages, even though that some of them didn't really get more than a couple scenes. Tobias was a personal favorite of mine just because he was kind of like a strung out like son of Ether who just kind of didn't like his lot in life and just kind of kept failing forward.
I like Tobias too.
I really enjoyed Millie as well. I didn't
Millie
get
was
as
cool.
much. I didn't get as much of a chance to really flesh her out as I wanted to, but I mean, I think that's kind of the issue with having a sidereal mentor.
For the record, for the record, Millie was my sidereal mentor on my character sheet because, God, I needed something to do with the background dots. And I asked Brendan right at the beginning of before the game started. I said I want my sidereal mentor to not necessarily have Layla's best interests at heart, like at the end, to be angling to use the infernals and then put them down like rabid dogs later on. And don't tell the other players about this.
Yeah, that was a good move. That was a solid fucking prescient move.
That was absolutely her intentions, and with there was actually a point. I think it was one of the episodes that, or one of the sessions that you missed when they went and raided the Tremere Chantry.
I was there for that.
Oh, were you? Oh, you were. That was the when you dealt with the gargoyles. Yeah,
The ancient sword of the Vampire King. Yeah.
Yeah. So when Rowan was talking to her, like if Rowan was like, "Oh, I don't want to learn martial arts. I want to know why you're here," she would have actually laid it down for him at that moment.
Oh
shit.
Yeah, it would have been like, "Yeah, I'm waiting for you guys to fuck up so I can like take you out."
Oh no. Oh, I wish I
because
had
like
that now.
because like she had a whole character sheet built, and like that she doesn't have that she suffers from the same problem that all scenarios have, which is their oxbody technique is not the best. She's really good at martial arts and she will mess people up. Besides that, I think that my one regret for this game was that I don't think that I got the opportunity to flesh out Mithras as much as I wanted to.
Yeah.
He kind of felt a little shoehorned in at the end, and I think that it kind of came down to I probably should have done something a little bit more related to him for season 1's ending as opposed to what that I did, which I don't regret going and having the giant Nazi fight, but also I probably should have had you guys actually sit down with his Demon the Fallen version and like actually chatted with him and kind of gotten some of his like ideology out there, because basically what happened when Mithras gets bound up in the Earthbound stuff in Stonehenge or a bunch of different yada yada bullshit, he basically only becomes like, I only want my plan to succeed. He basically has like, if you look at the Earthbound character sheet, it's like they have like 3 stats that are the equivalent of like the virtues from Vampire, and it's feeling, sensation, and thought. And he has like the most minimum that I can put in feeling and sensation, and he's just maxed out thought. So all that he cares about is the plan, which turns him into like this very gigantic world-ending villain that has like the perfect plan, and like he's basically Xanatos gambiting all over the place. Everything that you do works towards his plan until the very end. But because of that, and because he's an Earthbound who doesn't have an actual form, he doesn't get any screen time, which kind of it does not work in his favor.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like he made a pretty good accounting for himself in his final monologue off against End of Sadness, but yeah, that would be just about the only criticism I could level. Is Earthbound are pretty unique among the World of Darkness villains. For Exalted versus World of Darkness, in that they're about the only thing that could stand as a long-running villain because they can communicate so much power remotely through their thralls, and Mithras never really did that. We kind of took Mithras out the way everybody goes out in EvWoD, which is the first time they're in any meaningful sense in the same room as the Exalts, is the last time that they're in the same room as the Exalts.
Right,
Ah.
and a lot of the reasoning behind like you guys not seeing any of that is actually that like Mithras is actually like he's not only got his fingers in like the Camarilla and the local mages and the local werewolves and everything, but he was also like the dude behind the entire Nefandus plot. Like he was the one who was giving the information to the Nefandi to be like, "Hey, end the world this way."
Yep.
And because that all of the all of the every single time you guys ran into a Nefandus, it was like we're gonna just kill it, which the right thing to do. But because there was no real time to like interrogate him, or I think the one time you guys did have time to interrogate him, like I was still a little lukewarm on exactly what I wanted Mithras to be, because like
Yeah.
spoilers, I didn't really know that I wanted to do an Earthbound until like the Elysium night.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I can see that. That could be hard to do, right? Like, yeah, it would have been nice if we got just a little more face time with Mithras to kind of flesh him out. But like, there were a lot of moving parts, and you know what? For what we did get, it's pretty good. I think we got a pretty satisfying run all the way through, because even if we didn't confront like Mithras and their ideology directly, dealing with like the Setites, the other shitty vampires, the shitty mages, the problems we were peeling with, they were kind of pulling back on what they were standing in for Mithras.
Also, to be fair, every time someone intimated that like there was a big, scary, supernatural thing lurking in the background, pulling the strings, our characters like on screen diegetically, very explicitly rolled their eyes and made elaborate jack off motions in response.
Yeah.
So like we were not making it easy.
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, that looks like a plot hook.
Yeah, and by that idea, I think that the Mithras's lieutenants, the people who were kind of like taking the big ones who were like spreading the orders around, kind of had a little bit more screen time. So like Teddy, Millie,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, all of them had a little bit more screen time. They were more interesting and fleshed out.
I agree with that. Like that helped.
Yep.
It should also be clear that this is, since it might not have come up on recording, that was something that we talked about off camera, the whole kind of blowing off of the big bad, and it was mostly for comedic effect on camera. We weren't doing that to Brendan's big bad off camera.
No, it just didn't. It just worked out that way. Basically.
Yeah.
It's just who the characters are.
Yeah, like Mithras would never have mattered unless Mithras dared to get in our way, and look how that worked out for him.
Not well.
Yeah.
I mean, it took a lot of firepower to stop him.
It did, but
It did.
Yeah.
Did is the operative word here. Past
Freaking
tense.
Earthbound have too many ways to like. They are, I think, one of the only things that has been able to last more than a round or two with you all. And like, if I had given him a perfect reliquary, he wouldn't have had as much HP, but it would have been like, hey, guess what? You have to get over 10 successes or 10 successes. Excuse me. You have to get over 10 successes on damage before he even takes a single point, because he just auto soaks it, and then he still gets a soak roll.
My one critique of Mithras at all, like the one big critique I have, is in the final fight where it was like Stonehenge, then his battle form. Stonehenge shouldn't have just been us rolling against Stonehenge. It should have been like, how to put it? Stonehenge should have been easier to damage, maybe more health levels, I don't know, and like the hell form or whatever should have been like the hell form should have showed up immediately, and should have been something we were contending with, and trying to like split our time between containing the lieutenants, fighting off and like occupying the hell form, and someone trying to bash up the reliquary, because the reliquary is like the linchpin here, but you can't ignore these things that are like attacking you every time. But that's hindsight, and like, who cares? You know?
Yeah, if I had done this, so I was trying to keep it as close to rules as written with World of Darkness, but if I was going to go back and redo it to make it a little bit more epic, um, I would have just given them all kind of like a similar but very large health pool, so that like they couldn't just get taken down. Um, I've done that before, and I found that it works pretty well, except if except if like I tune it with too much soak or something like that.
Yeah, like there'd have to be like a balance to it, but it's such a petty complaint, to be honest. Like it's just
Mhm.
it would have been nice for the rhythm of the fight. I think it would have made it a little more, given us more opportunity to be a bit more dynamic than us. Because like we immediately went into siege mode. I think as soon as that fight started, like we start to be like, okay, what is the optimal pattern for us to engage and to start fucking icing these losers, as
Yeah.
opposed to like maybe playing a bit more. Like I was trying to play in that final fight a bit, but there wasn't a lot of like time or opportunity to do it. You know, you couldn't really play with your food. You had to get through it fast.
I was trying to as well, but as soon as that hit went in, nearly zeroed Rowan and Rigel, it was like, okay, business mode.
Exactly.
We're about to lose party members.
And that's not us as a group. That's just World of Darkness systems. That's just how they work.
Yeah, and Demon is. I've gone into it before. I think on recording why Demon is such a fucking mess.
But honestly, Brandon, like you doing all this stuff by the book is good because it shows you why by the book has advantages and disadvantages. To a corollary, when I'm doing this stuff for Exalted, I'm not doing any of that fucking shit in Exalted versus WoD. If I have an Earthbound, it's going to be like, yes, dice to this, dice to this. I guess you can do this, and this, and has a health track, whatever.
Yeah, if this wasn't literally a playtest, I would
Yeah.
have been playing a little bit more fast and loose with it.
I'll tell you what, listeners. If you think that when we have NPC exalts in Exalted versus 1, Atlantis 0, spoiler, or Exalted versus WoD, Heaven for Everyone, if you think that I wrote them up as player character exalts, you're a fucking fool. I didn't do that, listener. I'm not doing that ever in my life. That's not happening. No one can make me.
I will very rarely do that.
Yeah.
I will say that I did enjoy making Millie and Philip.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were actually kind of fun, but like I also had like, well, I'm gonna look for the combat charms because clearly I need them for this.
Right? No, that's fun. Like there's a value in doing that for sure. I don't disagree with it. I recoil from the thought.
Mm-hmm.
Too much.
Just really looking forward to just not turn my brain off, but definitely have less brain power active for making combats going forward.
Exactly.
I think that is my main complaint with WoD as a whole.
I think you handled my cult really well. I think you handled the fallout and the consequences and the background stuff very well. Like that all shined through pretty much exactly how we were looking for it. We workshopped it very well. Rowan's nemesis, the two times we got to kill him was great. The time Rowan got to go to town on that dude in Fenchurch in season 1 was excellent.
Wonderful. I loved it.
Good scene, good layup for him. The stars were fantastic. They kind of were exactly the kind of NPC you needed for Peter to like highlight what he's like. He had 2 archmages as parents. Like he's a billionaire. Like, he really played up that guy's. He is out of our league. And like everything with Layla, obviously. Like I just spent a bunch of time talking with the Layla stuff, so I'm not going to reiterate it. But that all went super well. Yeah, like it was excellent in pacing and structure and going along with what we were doing and just kind of rolling with it and keeping the kind of tone and intent. Tone is very difficult for this group and Exalted versus WoD, and especially like the word I think Holden used I like. It's what's that word when you don't take
irreverence?
Irreverent. Yeah. So irreverent sometimes means goofy or silly. Holden used to describe our games once, and I like it. Because irreverent also means they hold no reverence to the material that they are like working on. Like you don't respect it, and our group does that an awful lot. We often don't respect the games we're playing because they're dumb.
Right?
They don't deserve it, right? But like keeping that you kept a sort of reverent tone for this game, where it was like An Exalted game. The vampires were fantastic. I believed that there was a vampire politics system going on. I could buy that there was shit happening in the background that was followed of our stuff and followed of the Mithra stuff that we weren't engaging with, you know? Even though we only got to see the Camarilla maybe 3-4 times tops, if you're really stretching it, they seemed like a fully at conception organization. Same with the local mages. I believe
I
those.
hugely appreciated that.
Yeah,
I
yes.
hugely appreciated that. Our characters were able to treat these people like clowns and dipshits, but the world itself, which is to say the storyteller, never did.
Exactly.
Like,
Like the mages seemed like real people.
That's what Layla was built around. Like, if you just pick up Vampire from Vampire players, you will have the impression that Toreador are a bunch of prissy dipshits. And maybe they are, but they're fucking vampires. They eat people and they ruin lives for stupid reasons, which does not make the lives any less ruined or the people any less eaten. So, like, I feel like that is the tone and the presentation we always had, and it made the game work. Is no matter how much we clowned on the setting still felt like a real place.
Right.
Yeah. After we just wrapped up before this game we wrapped up another series of large games. It was Star Wars and something else, and I wanted to make a concerted effort on the next few games we do to make them more grounded like that. And this was an excellent success for that. Like to circle back to the Supernaturals, the mages felt like not only were they real characters, they felt like people who were interacting with each other for business and like hobby and like research reasons. Like they would go to each other for help and like do adventures together and stuff. Like an actual group of mages in a city would. They'd know each other. They'd be doing favors for each other. They'd be doing crazy shit for each other. Like it felt organic. You know?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So one of the things that I actually wanted to highlight for you all is I've been kind of thinking about it. There are I can't count how many times that you guys impressed me with just the role play and everything else. And I kind of wanted to give like personal shout outs to like kind of like specific scenes you guys or like episodes or whatever that you guys kind of really like shine through, that I think that like if listeners listen back, they'll be like, oh yeah, this is really good. First off, for End of Sadness, I know that this was a little bit more work on the background with between me and Devin, but the time skip episode, when the End of Sadness is constantly showing up in everybody's downtime,
right? That was good. That was a nice rhythm.
That was fantastic. For Holden, I gotta go with the time machine episode where that we go back and literally save your friend.
That was a good one.
Specifically when Layla like learns that we built a time machine and like we're gonna do it, and it's like that's just real. Like the ability for Layla to actually be like emotional and vulnerable about that, being like, wait, what did you do?
I mean, it was. I'm actually talking about specifically the moment that Layla like sneaks into the window, and like I know that like I think that at the time of recording I was like really stuffed up with spring allergies, but like I don't know how well that it comes through in the recording, but I'm actually tearing up a little bit like having the reunion, because it's like it is actually like an emotional moment.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Yeah.
There are so many moments that I can pick from for Rigel that are just like, oh, I did this wacky thing, and now I have this wand of vampire slaying and time stop ability, or I made the combination Baskin Robbins time machine cloning facility. There are so many just kind of like not goofy, but like out of context, they seem really weird, but like with the context of the game and how broken that, like you found a thing to break and you showed us how weird it gets when it's broken, and it was fantastic.
Well, it seems like, mages and their fascination of like, oh yes, I did this thing. It's kind of weird. I can't explain, how I got here, but here we are. I'm a Sidereal or something.
Mm-hmm.
We're going right.
I think that you literally like just kind of coming in and saving the Gamma Cave like effortlessly was phenomenal.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And then for Rowan, I think that I kind of have two moments for you. One when that you're playing the Lunar, and one as the Gatimian.
Alright.
As the Gatimian, it's literally the first episode of season 2 when that we're trying to figure everything else out about the Gatimians, and I'm just like, oh no, they went and did a cryptid last time. I guess now there's a bunch of Spring Heel Jacks here, and like just the back and forth of that was like really fun. And as a Lunar, my favorite moment for you there was actually getting late night curry with Tobias, and like there's a very specific moment where he's like, were you and Miss Butler dating? And I swear I could feel through the computer like your face just drop and go, oh no, why does he think this?
My God.
Yes. that really did catch me off guard, out of character. Like, wait, what? Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, besides that, as far as the story of the game goes, I just, like I said in the intro episode, I just made a as believable supernatural community as I could in a major metropolitan area, which is why there's not a whole lot of werewolves, because they tend to not congregate there. And I think that I pulled it off as well as I could, and you guys went in and basically fucked everything up, which is what I thought you all would do.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was very well done. Very solid.
Absolutely.
So, I guess any questions for me? Any regarding like plots or anything? I guess that would be a good next thing for as far as the story goes. If
No,
not, that's
I
cool.
I guess not.
No, okay.
I thought you wrapped
like-
it up pretty well.
Yeah, we wrapped it up pretty
Yeah.
good. I think we did character and story already now. Like, I think we've gotten through it. Do we
Yeah.
want to dig
Yeah.
into mechanics
Yeah.
a bit more?
No.
Oh, and
I guess
Pete had
the last-
stuff too. Pete had
Yeah,
stuff.
the last thing about the story, I guess, like really the first episode was kind of fun, with like exploring that whole house there, whatever that was called, and like,
Bolskin Manor.
yeah,
Oh,
Boskin
yeah.
Manor, and
I meant to loop back to that to see if we could get Nessie involved in the final fight, but it just sort of we got busy. We got too busy. We got too busy.
that would have been amusing. Maybe next season. So yeah, anything else mechanically we should talk about? Or that many changes are coming thanks to this game.
Yeah, and possibly fucking Death of Obsidian Butterflies among them. Because Jesus Christ.
You had some
Well, yeah.
stuff, Pete. Like you had a list of things you wanted to bring up.
I posted that. Let's see. Other than the Earthbound to get a lot of firepower to kill, even with the Death of Obsidian Butterflies. Vampires still being a bit of a pushover, but that's kind of expected with Exalted, I suppose.
Yeah, they're mortal plus compared to Exalt.
They're
Yeah.
not anywhere near the top of the food chain, even within just the vanilla World of Darkness. So
Yeah, which is kind of sad because like everybody knows vampires, everybody knows how to run with them and so on. Everybody's played Masquerade, and yet they don't gel that well. So you have to start grabbing stuff from other spells that not everybody has read.
Next time I'll make werewolves the focus. Let's see how that goes.
Oh boy.
God, that's going to be.
Hey, how many
Those-
turns do you get? It doesn't matter. There's 3 runes in front of you.
Oh no.
It doesn't matter. You'll die on the first turn.
So the werewolves then take their collective. Let's see. There's a pack of 5 of them. So that's pretty sure about that. 12 turns. No, excuse me. 5 of them. No, so they collectively take their 18 turns, and then.
And now you get to go. Are you
Five
And now we
full
know why
stance.
5. And now we know why God invented 5 full bulwark stance.
Pretty much. Yeah, I guess the thing that was like a little bit harder for us to pace was like figuring out the Mithras conspiracy, because us as players we knew what was going on, that he was behind the scenes, and then like, okay, how much do our characters care about this? How much should we deal with this? Should Rigel kill Toby on Mars straight away, right after he opens his mouth, or should we wait?
Right.
In hindsight, it's probably good that we did not buckle down and try to start peeling that onion early
Yeah.
on, because with the reliquary being Stonehenge, they cannot. Once we figured out what he was bound into, that's something that can't be moved and can't be hidden. You know. So that would be like, okay, it's then Mithras goes down as soon as we get a plan together to kill him. You know. Or us being us, just pile into a van and drive out there and do it. You know?
Right.
So considering the reliquary, that's probably good. But
Oh man, you guys
We
would have
never
actually figured that out a little bit earlier if
focused
you
on
had, because you guys actually did go out to Stonehenge once.
Yes.
And I, if I recall, I made you all roll me some like awareness rolls, and everyone was like, whatever, it's weird, ley lines, yada yada. And I'm like, if they get above a certain number, I'm gonna start revealing shit.
Luckily, all of us have dog shit for perception plus awareness. So
Right.
I think that was my good start. Oh well, I guess I didn't roll that well that day. Well, regardless.
yeah, why didn't Rigel just blow it out with fucking 12 successes?
Because we were trying to get to Mars, my dude. How you guys only had so long on that rental van that you left at Mars?
Excuse me, Andrew only had so long on that rental van. That we
Oh,
left on
you're
Mars.
right. You're right. You did put it under Andrew's name.
Thank you, Andrew.
What was the name of that fucking rental van company?
Was it like two guys in a van or something? Dudes moving.
It was something fucked up.
It was something actually
weird.
kind of funny.
Let's see if I wrote that down.
It's like man movers or something like that.
I think it was man movers.
Oh god, yeah, man. Oh lord.
That sounds about right.
Must have been it.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Ah.
Okay. Anything else we want to talk? I mean, we've kind of been talking about mechanics every now and again, but is there anything else that comes up that we all want to talk about?
I mean, I think we all agree that I did my best to like sand off the really fucking like rusty tetanus infested edges. It's still a manky system to the 90s.
It's combat drags on for so long.
Oh my god, I know.
It's not anybody's fault, and it's like you do the best with. You've done an amazing job, but my god.
I mean, it is someone's fault. Who released those rules? Who made this combat? We'll track them down. Oh dear. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the demake.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's one of the charms of the game is that it commits to the bit so hard, but that's also one of the big downsides to it is that it commits to the bit so hard. It is a very authentic World of Darkness experience.
Yeah, like the nice part about it committing to the bit so hard is that you can very easily port in anything else from World of Darkness.
Yeah.
But because it commits to the bit so hard, you get all the edges that come with all the
Not all
old
the edges.
90s jank.
I promise you, I have removed many of them.
I believe you.
Just you would not. You would have gone crazy if this thing allowed regular dice pool splitting still for multiple actions.
Do it for combat actions. Do it for attacks.
Ugh.
I split my 20 dice into 5 attacks.
Yeah. That's how first edition Exalted worked. You put up 5-pole bulwark stance. You didn't have to give a shit about defense economy. It's like, okay, how many actions can I have? How many attacks can I afford to make and still be pretty sure of it? And the answer was often like 5
Yeah, that
per
sounds about
character.
right.
Per character, not
Ugh.
per player, per character, because you'd be fighting Dragonblade or some shit. Or God help you, a Circle of Abyssal. So here's 10 characters, and each of them will be throwing like 5 to 8 attacks per round.
That just sounds like misery.
Yeah, I've spared us that.
Huh. Well,
But yeah, I feel like that decision to just have the system more or less kind of warts and all, or at least feeling like warts and all, is what makes it feel like Exalted landing in the world of darkness and taking advantage of that very high degree of congruity between different versions of storytellers, so they're almost interoperable, and now kind of they are.
Mm-hmm.
Without that, if I completely overhauled it, I think I may as well have just ported the goddamn thing into D&D 5th edition.
Yeah.
All right, Exalted vs. World Darkness now coming to D&D 5th
At-
edition.
At
Oh,
which
look,
point
we
we're
made so...
at which point we're basically doing a new edition of Dungeon the Dragoning 40,000.
you mean
Oh, look, we-
A
Godbound?
surprisingly good game, by the way.
Oh, see, I was going to make the joke that because that you finally caved in and wanted to make a 5e version of it, you're going to make all the money now because everyone buys every book that comes out for 5e.
Right.
I mean, let's play Cyberpunk in D&D.
Odd you saw that.
Yeah.
That's the new thing everyone's talking about. Whatever. The new drama on Twitter.
Yes, which by the time this gets uploaded will be like half a year old.
Ancient history.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
That
It's the old
30,000
ma-
years ago in internet years.
The old magic.
Yeah, speaking of that, I'm looking forward to trying the new crafting rules when they're more finalized and once we actually, are able to engage with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because so far, only we've only done some theory crafting and some cool stuff, and we haven't even displayed one of those in the actual game.
Splendors.
Yeah, spenders, they're so cool.
Yeah.
Splendors, gadgets, fascinations. I would love to
Atlantis
engage
Zero.
with that a little bit more.
I feel like Atlantis Zero is going to be where that stuff's going to start coming up because that's a Black Vault playtest.
Yeah, if you get those charms.
Someone's going to. I think.
Yeah, okay. If no one else does, I will.
Yeah, we gotta get that figured out. But anyway, yeah. Anything else?
I think that covers it.
I mean, besides just it was great getting to work with you guys and getting to run this. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, how did you enjoy the collab?
what was that?
How did you enjoy the collab?
Oh, I loved it. Like, highlight of my week whenever that we got to whenever we got to run. It was really nice, and also like it's. I know that like people don't hear this on the recordings, but it's nice that like we sit down and like we have like 30, usually like an hour of like banter before we even like get ready to get going. It kind of helps put you in like the headspace to kind of just like hang out with your friends instead of like, okay, we sat down and now it's time to get on this work call, I guess. Like it's a nice. It was nice and relaxed, but also like I felt like that I could talk to you guys seriously about like what that I was planning or anything, and also like every single one of you guys are so great at like the improv and like the yes ending, like whatever bullshit that I throw at you.
Finally,
Drop a
ADHD can be used for good.
Right?
How did you enjoy Holden?
One of the best games I've ever played in.
That's good.
Thank you.
Really, really fucking good storytelling.
I hope that I can at least continue to match going forward.
Right.
Yeah, me too. I'm holding you to this from now on.
No, no.
Ah, shit.
You set the bar too high. Now you're as expected.
Oh no, I had the Bard's Tongue Flaw activated.
Seriously, I really, really enjoyed the game. This is the first time I can't even remember how long I've gotten to play in the World of Darkness and have it actually feel like the World of Darkness. And it is always nice to go back home to my favorite licensed setting.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you everybody for bringing it to life.
Yeah, this was fantastic. It was a great job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good
Was
team
it,
effort.
Good job, team.
Yeah.
And also for horribly disrespecting the shit out of it and just
Oh,
For sure.
kicking it down a hill on fire.
As much respect as it deserves.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many times where I'm like, yes, these vampires are going to be super serious. But then also, 2 episodes later, it's like, hey, now we're going to be on top of the combination Baskin-Robbins time machine cloning facility. So let's not take ourselves too seriously here.
Or the vampires show up and we're taking them and they're taking themselves super seriously, and the situation is super serious, and it just ends with end of sadness, holding 2 pieces of bread to either side of Ventru Primogen's head, and what are you, an idiot sandwich?
Right?
Yeah.
Don't respect vampires.
They wouldn't respect you, so why should you respect them?
Right? Good stuff.
Good times.
stuff.
Do you think we're good to wrap, or do you want to keep going?
I can't think of anything else that I need to talk about.
I think we've exhausted everything. Other than plugging that, Exalted versus World of Darkness, Black Vault coming eventually.
If it's not out
Possibly
already.
before this recording, but probably not, because that's how release dates work out for me.
Yeah, we'll see how it all goes down, right? I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm excited to see the DMake stuff. That'll be fun.
yes.
Oh, same. I'm excited to get to run that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I guess then I was Devin.
Brendan?
Peter.
Hold up.
Sam.
And this was sponsored by Nobody. Signing off.
This game is a collaboration between A Pair of Dice Lost and Sponsored by Nobody podcasts. You can find us at apairofdicelost.podbean.com and sponsoredbynobody.podbean.com. You can find Exalted vs. World of Darkness over at holdenshearer.wordpress.com.